Hello students, today I am going to explain about bases. In this session I am going to explain what are the bases, what is the common thing among all the bases, what are the different types of bases. In my previous session I have explained about the acids, like what are the different types of acid, what is the common thing among all the acids, and what are the physical and chemical properties of acids. So today I am going to explain about bases. Like in chemistry, we know that all the compounds they can be classified into three main categories known as acids, bases, and salts. So acids I have explained. Today I am going to explain bases. In my next session, I will explain about the salts. So let's start. So first of all, I will explain what are bases. What type of compounds are known as bases? Yeah, what is the common thing among all the bases? So what are bases? Bases are those compounds which are made up of hydroxide ion. Hydroxide ion. What are bases? Bases are those compounds which are made up of hydroxide ion. Hydroxide ion can be written like this. This is oxygen, this is hydrogen as a whole. It has one unit negative charge on it. This is known as OH ion or hydroxide ion. So all the bases, they have this thing common in them, that is they are made up of hydroxide ion. I will give you some examples like NaOH, it has hydroxide ion in it. OH like KOH, it has hydroxide ion in it. We have MgOH, whole twice, it has per molecule. Each molecule, magnesium hydroxide, it has two hydroxide ions. So the point is that all the bases, they are made up of hydroxide ion. Like in the case of acids, we have hydrogen ion. This is the common thing among all the acids. Hydrogen ion. Hydrogen ion, one unit positive charge on it, like H2SO4, like HNO3, like hydrochloric acid, like that is HCl. So acids, they have one thing common in them, that is hydrogen ion. Contrasting point here, bases, they also have one thing common in them, but that is OH, yani hydroxide ion. So this is the basic thing about bases. And next is what is the class, how will you classify the bases? So we have a number of ways to classify the bases. Number one is we can classify the bases on the basis of their strength. उनकी strength के base पे we can classify them, and that is we have strong bases and we have weak bases. Now what are strong bases? Strong bases are those bases which get ionized completely in their aqueous solution. Or in other words, you can say that those bases which get ionized or which get decomposed completely into their corresponding ions, they are known as strong bases. We have some very good examples of strong bases, like we have sodium hydroxide, we have potassium hydroxide. These are the very common examples of strong bases. When you dissolve them in water, completely they will get decomposed into their ions and complete ionization in the aqueous solution में होता है. Aqueous solution means water solution. Number two, we have weak bases. What are weak bases? As the name suggests, those bases which do not get ionized in their aqueous solution completely. Partially they get ionized. उनका partial ionization होता है. Some of the molecules they will get decomposed, they will get ionized, and some of the molecules they will remain as such, they will not get decomposed. So those bases which partially get ionized in their aqueous solutions are known as weak bases. For example, weak bases के भी हमारे पास some common examples हैं. Ammonium hydroxide. This base is known as ammonium hydroxide. Very weak base है ये. For example, we have CaOH whole twice. This is calcium hydroxide. This is also an example of weak base. So this is one way to classify the bases, right? Acha, there is another way to classify the bases. Like we have monoacidic bases, we have acidic bases, and we have triacidic bases. What does it mean? Mono means 1, di means 2, tri means 3. Monoacidic bases are those bases during ionization process in their aqueous solution, they release only one OH ion. They release only one hydroxide ion per molecule. One molecule releases one hydroxide ion in their aqueous solution. Examples and scale like NaOH. It has one OH ion only per molecule. We have KOH. We have NH4OH, sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide, ammonium hydroxide. So these are some of the examples of monoacidic bases, because when you dissolve them in water, per molecule they will release only one OH, yani hydroxide ion, right? So these are monoacidic bases. We have diacidic bases also. As the name suggests, per molecule they have got two hydroxide ions like CaOH whole twice, that is calcium hydroxide, MgOH whole twice, magnesium hydroxide. So because per molecule they have two hydroxide ions in them, that is why when you dissolve them in water, they will release two hydroxide ions per molecule. So that is why they are known as diacidic bases. We have triacidic bases also, like we have AlOH whole thrice, aluminium hydroxide, because aluminium has valency 3, so it will react with 3 hydroxide ion, and hydroxide की valency 1 है, that is why it will react with only one aluminium atom. So this is aluminium hydroxide. It has 3 hydroxide ion in it. So during ionization process in aqueous solution, it will release 3 hydroxide ion. We have FeOH whole thrice also. This is ferric oxide, ferric hydroxide, and ferric hydroxide has 3 hydroxide ion in it. That is why during ionization process, it will also release 3 hydroxide ion per molecule. So this is all about the classification of bases. And next is a term, that is alkali. Alkalis. What are alkalis? This word we are going to use again and again in this chapter. जब भी आप केमिस्ट्री का कोई भी चैप्टर पढ़ते हो तो उसमें these words acid, bases, salts and alkalis, this word is also frequently it is used. So I will tell you what is the meaning of alkalis. There are some bases. What are alkalis? Like there are some bases like sodium hydroxide. We have potassium hydroxide. We have calcium hydroxide. We have ammonium hydroxide. These are some of the bases. When you dissolve them in water, they will form their basic solutions. And these basic solutions are known as alkalis. It means these bases, they are in their aqueous solution form basic solutions. It means, in other words, you can say that they form alkalis. So alkalis are basic solutions. Not all the bases form alkalis. Only these some bases like sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide, calcium hydroxide, ammonium hydroxide. These are some of the bases which dissolve in water and form their basic solution and form alkalis. But we have some bases who have a basis, but when you dissolve them in water like CuOH whole twice, like we have iron hydroxide, these are bases because they have hydroxide ion in them present, but they do not dissolve in water to form basic solution. ये basic solution नहीं बनाते हैं. So they are bases but they do not form alkalis. So in other words, in one sentence you can explain that all the alkalis are bases but all the bases are not alkalis. सिर्फ वो special bases which dissolve in water and form basic solution, they are alkalis, but some of the bases they do not form basic solution in aqueous solution, so they do not form any alkalis. So उसके example हैं CuOH whole twice, copper hydroxide, this is iron hydroxide, and these are the bases which form alkalis in their aqueous solution. So this is all about alkali, and we are going to use this word again and again in this chapter. And उसके बाद आ जाता है हमारा physical and chemical properties. So first of all, I will explain the physical properties of bases. Right? Physical properties of bases. Now, what are physical properties? Like taste, कैसा है? Litmus paper से what color they have with litmus paper. So first of all, what is the taste of these bases? Like acids, they are sour in taste, but bases they have bitter taste, sharp bitter taste they have. Right? So all the compounds which are having sharp and bitter taste, like we have soap, we have detergents, they are having sharp bitter taste. It means they have bases present in them. Number two, so इनका जो taste है, they are bitter, sharp taste, right? So next step, number two property is how to identify the bases like litmus test. How to identify them? By using litmus paper. Like in the case of acids, they turn blue litmus paper red. बिल्कुल contrast property है. Bases की, they turn red litmus paper blue. Red litmus paper को ये blue कर देते हैं. So this is the test to identify, to detect the presence of a base. और ये आप 6, 7, 8 से पढ़ते आ रहे हो कि red litmus turn blue in a basic solution and blue litmus turns red in an acidic solution. So this is another basic physical property of bases. So apart of this red litmus, we have some other tests to identify the bases also. Like we have this litmus, it is a natural indicator इसको बोलते हैं. First vlog में मैंने आपको indicators के बारे में बताया था. तो it is a natural indicator, litmus, blue litmus, red litmus. We have some synthetic or artificially made indicators also. Like we have methyl orange. It is a synthetic or artificially made chemical indicator है. And whenever you add methyl orange in any basic solution, then it will turn yellow. इसका color orange से yellow हो जाता है. In this way, it identifies the presence of a base. We have another indicator to test about the presence of base, that is phenolphthalein. Phenolphthalein is also a synthetic indicator. It is colorless, but whenever you put few drops of phenolphthalein in a basic solution, then immediately it will turn very bright pink color, that is magenta color. Pink color में ये turn हो जाता है. Itself it is colorless, and if you put few drops of phenolphthalein in any basic solution, then it will give you a dark pink, bright pink color. So in this way we can detect the presence of bases, and this is also a physical property of bases. They turn red litmus blue, they turn methyl orange yellow, and bases they turn phenolphthalein solution into bright pink color. So these are the physical properties. There is another property then bases, they are very good electrolytes. Now what are electrolytes? Those substances in which when you pass electric current, they will get decomposed into their ions. They are good conductors. Compounds, when they conduct electricity, they are known as electrolytes. Metals, when they conduct electricity, then they are known as good conductors. So in other ways, bases, they are also good conductor, but when bases और compounds में जब electricity pass होती है, then फिर हम उसको बोलते हैं electrolytes. So they are good electrolytes. They conduct electrolytes. They conduct electricity in their aqueous solution and they get decomposed into their ions. This is known as electrolysis. This process is known as electrolysis, and the compounds which conduct electricity and get decomposed into their ions, they are known as electrolytes. Acids are also very good electrolytes, bases are also very good electrolytes, and salts are also good electrolytes. So example of NaOH, when you pass in their aqueous, you should have aqueous solution. Aqueous solution means water solution. Water के अंदर आप इसका solution बनाओगे, dry form में they will not conduct electricity because ions will not move in dry form. So you will have to make aqueous solution and pass electric current. इसमें कौन सी current? Electric current आप pass करेंगे. Then sodium hydroxide will get decomposed into its corresponding ions, that is sodium ion having 1 unit positive charge and hydroxide ion. इसी तरह से like KOH will get decomposed into potassium ion and hydroxide ion. For example, magnesium hydroxide MgOH whole twice will form in aqueous solution. When you pass electric current through it, it will also form magnesium ion and 2 hydroxide ion because it is diacidic base. It will release 2 hydroxide ion. So this is another property of bases. They are good electrolytes. They conduct electricity and get decomposed into their ions. There will be a chemical change taking place in them by passing electricity. This is the chemical effect of electricity. Next is chemical reaction है कि reaction with metals. Acids, dilute acids, they also react with metals. Very common reaction है acids का, dilute acids. Whenever they react with metals like sodium metal, like calcium metal, like zinc metal, aluminium metal, all the metals which are present above hydrogen in the reactivity series, they react with dilute acids and release hydrogen gas, and salt is also formed. Here also, but not that much commonly it is found, this property in bases. बहुत commonly नहीं है, ये common नहीं है property, but there are some metals, some of the metals, they react with bases and release salt and hydrogen gas. For example, we have sodium hydroxide. When it reacts with zinc metal, then it will form Na2ZnO2. This is known as sodium zincate. This salt is known as sodium zincate plus of course hydrogen gas. So this is the relation. This is the reaction between bases and a metal. Very few metals react with bases to form a salt. Here it is sodium zincate and hydrogen gas is released. Hydrogen gas का we can do the test also, और वो test है कि ये अपने क्या बोलते हैं, combustible gas, highly inflammable gas, and it burns with a pop sound. Pop sound की तरह ये burn होती है. So this is the reaction. इसके बाद reaction आ जाता है. Next reaction with bases, they react with acids. This is also a very important, और हमने acid में भी किया था कि whenever acid they react with bases, two neutral compounds are formed. One is salt and another is water. Both the compounds are neutral, neither acidic nor basic. As we know that salts are also neither acidic nor basic, neutral compounds, and water is also neutral. So this whole process is known as neutralization. So we are talking about neutralization reaction. Neutralization reaction. In acids हमने कैसे start किया था कि when acids react with bases, they form salt and water. The whole process is known as neutralization. यहाँ हम पहले base का नाम लेंगे because we are doing bases. Like bases, they react with acid and form salt plus water. The whole reaction is known as neutralization reaction. Base will lose its properties, acid will also lose its properties, acidic properties, and they will form two neutral compounds. That is why the whole reaction is known as neutralization reaction. We will take some chemical equation. Take a base, NaOH is a very strong base. Take an acid, we can have H2SO4, or we can have hydrochloric acid, which is also a very strong acid. Whenever they react together, sodium hydroxide, it is a very strong base, it will lose its basic properties, and hydrochloric acid will also lose its acidic properties, and it will form two NaCl. दो इसमें न्यूट्रल कंपाउंड बनेंगे, NaCl and water. So this is the whole reaction. Neutralization का well known example है, and bases they react with acid and forming sodium chloride, which is a salt, neutral, neither acidic nor basic. Water is also neutral. So this is another chemical property of bases. There is another chemical property. Like in acids, we have studied about that acids they react with metallic oxides, and metallic oxides like sodium oxide, like copper oxide, like calcium oxide, magnesium oxide, these are metallic oxide and they are basic in nature, and acids are acidic in nature. So acids में हमने property करी थी कि acids they react with metallic oxides which are basic in nature. So reaction is the same, acid reacting with basic oxides, neutralization reaction will take place. Here also neutralization reaction में एक और example मैं देती हूँ. When bases like base, when they react with bases, they react with non-metallic oxides. अब non-metallic oxides में we have carbon dioxide, we have sulfur dioxide, we have nitrogen dioxide. These are non-metallic oxides. So non-metallic oxides normally they are acidic in nature. So non-metallic oxide यानी कि we are taking an acidic oxide, acid का एक को ले रहे हैं हम, oxide ले रहे हैं, acidic oxide है ये, and bases they are basic in nature, acidic oxide they are acidic in nature. So again a sort of neutralization reaction is taking place here also, right? So this is another chemical property of bases कि bases, you can take a base like we have very commonly we use this reaction like calcium hydroxide. वाटर में अगर इसको डिसॉल्व करके और ऊपर का पानी अगर निकालोगे तो इट इज आल्सो नोन एज लाइम वाटर. वेल नोन टेस्ट है कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड का, विच इज अ नॉन मेटालिक गैस, नॉन मेटालिक ऑक्साइड है कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड. नॉन मेटालिक ऑक्साइड्स normally they are acidic in nature because when you dissolve them in water they will form their corresponding acids. So carbon dioxide को भी जब आप water में dissolve करोगे it will form carbonic acid. so it is known as acidic oxide. So कैल्शियम हाइड्रोक्साइड में when you pass कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड, इसका aqueous solution आप लेंगे, not in solid form. So कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड से जब रिएक्शन करेगा, then it will form a salt CaCO3 and water will be formed. So white एक precipitate बनेगा, white color का substance बनेगा and water will be formed. Calcium carbonate, it is a salt, neither acidic nor basic. Water is also neutral compound है, so this reaction is also a sort of neutralization reaction. So this is another example. This is another reaction कि bases they react with non-metallic oxides. So these are some of the chemical reactions of bases. और इसके बाद last but not the least, I am going to explain about the uses of bases. बिल्कुल कॉमन जो यूजेस हैं इसके, लाइक सोडियम हाइड्रोक्साइड का यूज है. इट इज यूज्ड इन सोप इंडस्ट्री, इट इज यूज्ड फॉर मेकिंग सोप्स, डिटर्जेंट्स, पेपर इंडस्ट्री में, टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री में वी यूज सोडियम हाइड्रोक्साइड एज वन ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट. एंड कैल्शियम हाइड्रोक्साइड, इट इज यूज्ड टू फॉर्म ब्लीचिंग पाउडर. ब्लीचिंग पाउडर भी हमारे जितने भी आपके ये ड्राई क्लीनर्स है, ड्राई क्लीन करने में ब्लीचिंग पाउडर दे यूज. और इसके बाद ये ब्लीचिंग पाउडर फर्दर कैन बी यूज टू प्यूरिफाई द वाटर. इट इज डिसइंफेक्टेंट इन नेचर. सो कैल्शियम हाइड्रोक्साइड बीइंग अ बेस and it is used in the formation of bleaching powder. Magnesium hydroxide, also known as milk of magnesia, it is a very good antacid. Whenever in our stomach acidity takes place, so we take this milk of magnesia. Commonly it is known as milk of magnesia, but it is solution of magnesium hydroxide. So it is used to neutralize the acidity in our body, because this is a basic solution, basic nature है, and in our stomach acidity है, so neutralization reaction will take place and used as antacid. And number 2, sodium carbonate है तो ये salt, but कुछ salts, कुछ bases मैंने आपको बताया था, all normally salts they are neutral, but we have some exceptional cases. There are some salts which are basic, slightly basic in nature. There are some salts which are slightly acidic in nature. So this is a salt, but slightly it is basic in nature. Or sodium carbonate, it is also used to make washing soda. And sodium bicarbonate, it is also, although it is a salt, but slightly it is basic in nature, and it is used for baking purpose. Cooking में we use it as baking powder, baking soda. We use in our cooking. And sodium carbonate, slightly basic in nature, so इसका भी use है. Washing soda बनता है इससे, and there are some of the detergents भी इससे बनते हैं. We use it to make for making soaps and detergents. So this is all about today, and next session में I will take salt in continuation of this chapter, acid, bases and salts, and उसके बाद फिर मैं कुछ क्वेश्चन आंसर्स लूँगी NCERT के, प्लस कुछ एक्स्ट्रा क्वेश्चन आंसर. एंड स्टूडेंट्स, आई वांट टू टेल यू वन थिंग मोर, दैट थोड़े टाइम में मैं आपको लाइव क्लासेस भी हमारी होंगी. लाइक वी कैन हैव लाइव क्लासेस एंड यू कैन आस्क क्वेश्चंस एंड वी विल टेक पर्टिकुलर टॉपिक. सो ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ दैट टॉपिक यू कैन आस्क सम क्वेश्चंस. सो इन माय नेक्स्ट सेशन, और जल्दी ही मैं लाइव क्लासेस भी आई एम गोइंग टू स्टार्ट. सो थैंक यू सो मच फॉर वॉचिंग दिस वीडियो. थैंक यू सो मच.